Chris Alcaraz coming to you from 4-String Ranch in beautiful Austin, Texas. And today, I'm going to show you electric bass players how to play some upright. We'll even do a little slapping. So what is rockabilly music? Rockabilly music is essentially the bastard child of country and blues. It came about in the early 50s in this country, and it was mostly played at a time when bass players were playing upright anyway. The Fender P bass was a brand new thing, and you can sort of get the sound from a P bass if you palm mute it and you thump it with your thumb, but there's nothing quite like an upright for getting the rockabilly sound. First, let's talk about how to hold the bass. When you have it up on its end pin, you take this seam and you align it just inside of your hip bone. You don't want to be beside it, you don't want to be behind it, but you're basically at a 45-degree angle, and it'll fit right in there snugly, and it'll keep it standing almost entirely on its own. Okay, so if you already play electric, you know about pizzicato technique. That's just plucking. With upright, you've got two choices. You've got arco, which is bowing, or pizzicato, which is plucking. It's all in Italian, by the way. So your pizzicato technique, once again, is you hang your thumb here on the fingerboard, and then you draw it across. Now you're going to draw it across much like when you're playing electric. Electric would be like this. You're going to angle it down, again, so you get more of that finger meat on there. Now you've got some attack. Excellent. You can also get that forearm if you need to get some more volume out of it. You're going to need to dig in a little more. The bass player, before these were amplified, had to be the first one on the gig because you had to stake out your claim in the corner of the room because that's going to give you the most bass. Now we've got pickups, which help, but you're still going to need to dig in. Now on the left hand, you're basically making an L shape. You want to place the pad of your thumb on the back of the neck and then bring it around. Now the most important thing here is to keep your wrist straight. If you need to put a book on it, whatever you need to do, make sure you keep your wrist straight. Very, very important. Place your thumb on the back, wrap your fingers around, and you don't run with your feet flat, you're up on the balls of your feet. Same kind of thing. You want to be up on the tips of your finger, except when you want to do the mwah. Then you'll flatten out. But in general, you want to stay up on the tips of your finger. So, right hand, here on the fingerboard, left hand, wrapped around, you're ready to rock and roll. Okay, so let's talk about the scale of the bass and how to find notes on it. You'll notice everything is stretched out. So you want this set up so that first finger is about eye level. So what would be first fret is about eye level. Second fret would be here. So you got open, first, second. Now, technically, on the upright, you're not even supposed to use your third finger. So you would go open, that would be first, second finger where second fret would be, fourth finger where third fret would be. Fifth would be here, and you can check with an open string. Now, when you get up to fifth position, what you want to do is, there's a real simple way to do this. You want to karate chop right here at your neck joint, and then bring your hand around. Now you can check that, and of course, fourth finger would be where seventh fret is. So you can check that against your open string. So you've got what would be fifth fret, right at that karate chop. First finger and fourth finger would be seventh fret. So that would be your root fifth. Now, a friend of mine got to see Ray Brown, and whenever you're trying to figure out what to do next, just ask yourself, what would Ray Brown do? One of the finest upright players ever. If you haven't checked him out, Google him, YouTube him. You'll be glad you did. And one of the things he took away from that was how loose his hand is. So make sure you keep that right hand loose. You can start digging in more. You're going to get more forearm moving around. And then you start getting into slap territory. Okay, so you got a gig coming up and it's on upright. What are you going to do? Well, you're going to shed a lot. If you don't have a gig coming up on upright, well, maybe you'd have one if you learned how to play it. So here's what we do. I showed you where 5th fret was, where 7th fret was. Now let's say you got to do some slapping. Well, this is going to differ a little bit. Usually with electric, you've got your thumb and your finger, your slap and your pop. With this, you got to think of it more like a bow and arrow. So when you start your slap, you're going to pop it like that, like your bow and arrow, and then slap. Slap, pop. And you're really just smacking the strings against the board. That's your single. Now, you're going to notice how physically cumbersome this is to play at first. Right, but there's something immensely satisfying about coaxing notes out of this enormous piece of wood and metal. And you'll notice that the more difficult an instrument is to play, the less is expected of you. So don't go off trying to play lead bass. It's not your job anyway. Stay home and play bass. And that's the nice thing about these enormous softball bat necks. They sit you down and make you play bass. If you have a drummer, listen to your drummer. If you two lock up and you feel the quarter note, that pulse, that beat in the same place, you're going to be fine. Everything's cool. So start with your single slap. Start feeling pretty good about that. You want to do a double? That's cool. Now it's got this springboard action. It's like a diving board, and you're going to use that to your advantage. You're going to feel this thing springing your hand back up. Double, you're going to, same kind of thing, you just hit it twice. You really feel like grooving on it. You can do triple. Triplets, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. And eventually, you'll get to where you're doing, little 16ths on there, and you do like the little giddy up. And then you start combining them. Okay, we've learned the technique, so let's apply this technique to a blues in A. So we're going to start. Now, if you need to find your A, there's no shame in finding that open string and then matching it. That's cool. Now, if you need to use an open string for a while, that's cool too. You just won't have the control. So get that closed note as soon as you can. So we're going to start with A, and we're going to start. Let's do a single slap. We'll work up to a double slap, and we're going to start with just roots, so blues in A. 1, 2, 3, up to the D now, back to the A now, up to the E now, back to the A now. Double slap, here we go. Okay, now we're going to go root and 5th over 12-bar blues. Same deal here. Up to the D now. Back to the A now. Up to the E now. Back to the A now. Now you're saying, Chris, you were doubling up on that 5 chord. You were doubling up on that E. Most of the old school tunes that were coming out in the 50s, on the way down, on that turnaround, instead of going 5, 4, 1, which they would do, but they were still clinging to the old 5, 5, 1. So you got to watch that turnaround. But a lot of that's in another video too. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube, 4 String Ranch. Thanks. I'm Chris Alcaraz. Thanks so much for watching. Peace and love.